Creating, testing, and registering services. Before we start creating services, let's review the Synergi ribbon in Help. Let's go to our contacts. Let's open up Mr. Gates' contact. And let's click on our Synergi button to open up the Synergi interface. As you can see, we have the Microsoft Outlook ribbon here at the top, but let's minimize that and let's look at the Synergi ribbon itself, which is just below it. If we expand that, you can see that there are 3 tabs: Operations, Design, and Synergi. Operations has a layout where we can save layouts, the configuration of different services put into this Outlook contact form. We can import them, those layouts. We can export those layouts. We have a service section under Operations that we can insert services, and you can see the list of services. We can also manage those services, create new services, delete services, and change how they react with the contact form. We also have a context passing section that allows you to pass contacts by fields within the Outlook form, whether it's a contact form or an email form. You also have the ability to link to a list, which would pass a list of information to web services. And you also have the link to the input box. This is the input box. You can type things into that and pass information directly to a service from this box. You have the Design tab, which you can add tabs across the top of this interface. You can rename the tabs and you can remove them. You can also position the location of where these tabs are residing, whether it's at the top of this particular contact form, to the left side, the right side, or the bottom. An example would be, let's go put it on the left side, let's put it on the bottom, and let's put it on the right side. I like it at the top. You also have the Synergi tab, which provides you help, about, and also partner settings. When I start creating services and layouts for a particular folder, I always liked having the Start Here service from Synergi, so it allows me to be able to review anything that I might have a question on. The number one thing that I like using the most in the Quick Start is the Service Manager. The Service Manager gives me a little information of how to use the services and the tokens, more importantly, of what token is appropriate for a particular field that I want to pass contacts from to a web service. So let's keep this particular area here where we have our tokens available to us here in the Start Here, and let's go ahead and start creating a service. Let's go back to our Operations tab, go to our Services section and click Manage. This will open up our Manage Services dialog box, and let's go down and click on Root and expand this to where we can get to our My Services, so we can create our own services. And let's go ahead and add a new group here for our particular services that we want to create. Say Add Group for this. Let's do Demo. Click Add. And while we're under Demo, let's go ahead and create our first service. We're going to click Service, Add a Service, and here you can see we can give it a name. Let's go ahead and let's do one right now. Let's use Wikipedia. And we can have this checked off so where we can name it what we want, or we can have it named the same thing as the service name. We can now put in our URL. And we can go ahead and test that URL now. Let's go ahead and expand this a little bit bigger at the bottom, give ourselves a little bit of room. Click Preview. And it does go to Wikipedia. Let's go ahead and type in here John Doe and see what we can find. So it finds John Doe. Now, the reason I did this is because I want to be able to find something. So I want to be able to pass contacts to Wikipedia. And in this demo, I want to pass the full name of the contact to Wikipedia to see if we can find that individual. So let's go grab the URL from this. Or go to Properties of this web page. We'll come up here and grab this URL where we see John Doe, and we'll copy that. Say OK, and we'll replace this URL up here with what we have copied. So now all we're going to do is use our tokens. So we have a token for first name field in the contact form and the last name field. We just got to make sure we have this underline in there. Tokens are always has a caret symbol before the token name and a caret symbol after the token name. So we're going to put a caret, and in uppercase we like our tokens. F name, caret, our underscore, just like they had it, and we're going to do caret again, L name, and you can see where we're getting the right information from the drop down. You're just showing it. So we can hit NAME, put that in uppercase, and put another caret. Now we can check in our context data area and see if it's going to find data. So here it is. It's finding Harry James. Go figure. Service details, we'll go back up there and we'll go ahead and say preview. Now this should pass Harry James. So we can test it. And it does. It finds the big band leader, Harry James. So this service is going to work just fine. Let's go ahead and add it. So you'll see that added to our demo group. Here we go. We have Wikipedia in our demo. And now we've created a single service. Let's go ahead and create one more service while we're in here. Let's go ahead and say service, add a service. We're going to call this Google Quote. We're going to come down here and we're going to go ahead and just go to Google. And let's go ahead and preview. And we really don't want Google here, just a regular Google search, but we want to do finance. So let's go down to finance. And now that we have the finance page up, we can go ahead and put a symbol in here. Let's just put in C for Citibank. And we'll click on Citigroup. And now that we have this information, let's look at the properties of this web page. Again, we're going to copy the URL that we found on this page. We're going to copy it, say OK. We're going to go up and replace the URL that we started with. I'm going to do a Control V. Let's go ahead and create one more service. Let's go back up and click on Service, Add Service. We're going to create one for, to say, Google Quote. Come on down here, we'll go ahead and put in google.com. And we'll go ahead and tell it preview. Now, instead of just a typical Google search, we actually want a quote. So let's go down to the finance in Google. And let's go ahead and type in here, let's say GE. And click Get Quote. So when it comes back, we send General Electric quote. Let's go ahead and do properties on this page, just like we did the other. And let's grab the URL, the whole URL, say copy. Come back, oops, say OK. Come back and let's paste that in to our service. And we're going to change GE here. And I'm going to do something different. Instead of using a user field 1, which I know the symbol is N, I'm going to go ahead and use the input box. The input box is a global setting, so that if you use input, if you have anything set to input, you can always change it to any user field within the contact form. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's go ahead and test this. Let's look at the context data and see what we have in there. We see we have a symbol called Halliburton, HAL. Let's go back and see if we pass HAL to the quote. Preview. And it does. So it's working great. Let's go ahead and add this service to our services. So now we have, under demo, we have Wikipedia and Google. And let's go ahead and close our manager, and let's go insert those services into our desktop here. Insert, go up to Insert Services, go down to Root, My Services, let's go all the way down to Demo. Let's go to Wikipedia. Now it should be passing William H. Gates to Wikipedia. Let's see. Bill Gates, it did, it passed it. Let's go ahead, and since we have C here, we're going to put in the Google quote, but it's going to pass the symbol C. So let's go ahead and do that. And that's because we're using the input token to pass. So that whatever's in this input box, because it's linked, as you can see here at the top, it's linked with this orange color. If because over here it'd be field, over here it's linked. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and insert that Google quote, go down to Services, Demo, Google quote. We've dropped in Google quote and it's going to come up with city. Now if we came here and typed in something different, let's say we typed in Halliburton and hit enter, it's going to change that Google quote to Halliburton. We could do that again. We could type it in for something other. Let's say VZ for Verizon. Hit enter. It'll pass Verizon. But because I used a token in this particular contact, if we go back to the contact and we come down to user fields, in the user field 1 area, under miscellaneous fields here, it has a symbol in here. We're going to change this symbol to just MSFT. And we're going to come back to our Synergi. We're going to go ahead and change this to user field 1. So we'll slide this on down and find user field 1. It's alphabetical. A lot of fields in Outlook, especially the contact form. And we'll link it to that field, and now it's passing Microsoft. So because we use input, we could have used caret user field 1. As we can see here in the Start menu, if we scroll on down to Service Manager, and you come down here and look at the tokens. Oops, I'm sorry. So Service Manager, here we go. We'll scroll on down to our tokens, and if we go down to User Field 1, it's called User 1. So if we put in User 1 as our token, it would find the User 1 field. But instead, we just clicked on the link. So we could do either one because we did the input so that we could use any field. This is really a simple way of doing things so that you can always change it and then save that layout that way. Now that we've inserted these services, we can even change the layout of them. Let's go ahead and take Wikipedia and move it over here and move it to the right. Now we have Wikipedia here on our right hand side. We have Google quote here on the left, and at the present time we no longer need Start here, so let's go ahead and remove it. Oops, I removed the wrong one. Well, let's go ahead and put the quote back in. It's easy enough to do. Put in Google quote. There it is. We're going to go ahead and set that service to user field 1 so it passes Microsoft to it. We're going to also leave this the way it is because we know it's exactly going to the full name field. And we're going to come back here to Start here and let's delete that service. So now all we have is Google quote and Wikipedia. We can save the layout. We can go ahead and go back to contact if you want and say save and close. And let's just do one more thing that's very interesting. Let's create a brand new contact from scratch, and let's call him John Doe. Let's go ahead into the contacts all fields, and let's go to miscellaneous fields. And let's say that John Doe works for IBM. And we'll go ahead and save the contact. So now we have John Doe, and we're going to go ahead and look at the Synergi. Now, it should bring up with a quote from IBM, and we should also see a Wikipedia service with John Doe. John Doe on the right, quote for IBM. So you can see you can create and save these services and lay them out the way you want. And then every time you open up the contact in that particular folder, let's say these are clients and you're looking at specific information, you're going to go out and find the relevant information for that client that's out of that particular folder. I hope you got a lot out of this, and our next video will be on creating services from the partner's perspective.